Hi everyone, welcome to my session with you today. I'm Heng Chong and I'm going to teach you how to speak in front of a crowd with panache or eloquently. Now, for those of you who are sharp-eyed, you may realize I'm missing a tooth. Well, I lost it, so I'm getting it replaced. But for the moment, less of me is here today and I hope it will not distract you. Now, what is glossophobia? Glossophobia is really the fear of public speaking. There are some people, if you ask them, can you present this today? They'll say, what? Ask me to present? I'd rather die. Well, there are three things I hope to share with you. And first of all is how you need to prepare for the pitch. This is crucially important. The amount of preparation, the things that you rehearse to get it right on the money is important so that you can conduct and deliver an impressive presentation. Secondly, I think it's utterly important for us to connect with the audience. And there are strategies I'm going to teach you along the course of today's video. And obviously, we want you to be able to influence people as you present, and it's to do it eloquently. Part 1, preparing for the pitch. Now, rehearsals are crucially important. I'm sure you have seen good presenters who seem to stand there and speak in such a fashion as though they've been doing it forever. Trust me, they have been rehearsing and rehearsing to the point where they seem very natural. And that's important for you to note. Now, this great golfer called Gary Player was once accused of being lucky in winning so many golf tournaments in the USA. And one day, a journalist tried to have this same question to him again. Hey, Mr. Gary Player, you're lucky to win today. And his retort was beautiful. Yeah, sure. The more I practice, the luckier I got. What a nice retort to someone who's trying to put you down, right? Understanding your audience, or what I call audience analysis. I need you to do a bit of homework to find out what their needs are, what their preferences are, and what their idiosyncrasies are. Trust me, when you present to a forum or a committee, every forum will have a different behaviors, different expectation, different quality focus. So it's important that you need to have confidence in what you're saying and prepared for their questions or the kind of spanners they can throw on you to put you or derail you from your arguments. You need to have a clear position even before you present. A good pitch is one that is persuasive and has a clear idea, all right? When you present, it's good to get views from your team, make them sit in front of you as you do your thing. And when you get group feedback from the people you work with, you'll be able to identify the weaknesses in your arguments. People will give you feedback. Reflect on the feedback that people give to you and see how you can weave a better way of presenting the point if you feel it could be better done in a different fashion. Now, when you cannot decide who to listen to, do I listen to the people who tell me my areas that can improve, or do I listen to myself? Well, we need both. But end of the day, if you're undecided, sometimes it's important to be able to listen to the voice that's inside of you. Now, why do we rehearse? We rehearse so that we can internalize our key points to the point whereby you can present elegantly and focus on your message and the crowd rather than trying to think, what am I going to say next? Now, a good technique I've used myself is probably to jot down a few points about the intention of this slide. Now, a good pitch will really sound like an interaction between you and the panel you're presenting to. It's like a series of good conversation that goes to and fro. So questions are good. Don't be too freaked out if you get questions that are difficult, all right? Don't be afraid to tell them, look, for the moment, I don't have the answer, but don't worry, I'll get back to you with a particular question that you have, which in fact is a very good question that I will solve, I will take care of. Part 2, how do you create a connection with your audience? Trust me, in the presentation world, it's not just what the audience hears that impacts them, it is what they see as well. Now, a pitch does not take place in the library of the mind, but actually in the theater of the heart. So when you present, remember this slide, it is theater. You're not just sitting there downloading information, because if that's the case of a one-way, mundane download information, then probably you don't need to be there, right? Think about it. So really, the one presenting also carries a message. Facts tell, feelings sell. Now, it's important as you present to register your conviction about the point that you just make. Use your hands, your facial expressions, your non-verbal gestures that you use to accentuate and emphasize a point that you're making. Now, that this area called visual emotional stories that are very useful, that you should use as part of a presentation that will allow you to create a very intimate connection with your audience. Let me now show you a video clip from this series called Mad Men, which is a very interesting show to watch.
This is Joe Harriman and Lynn Taylor. No Eastmans today, unfortunately. They're all back in the lab.
It's a wonderful facility, but they don't take vacations.
What do they show? Slides of them working?
So, have you figured out a way to work the wheel into it?
We know it's hard because wheels aren't really seen as exciting technology, even though they are the original.
Well, technology is a glittering lure, but there's the rare occasion when the public can be engaged on a level beyond flash if they have a sentimental bond with the product. My first job, I was in-house at a fur company with this old pro copywriter, Greek, named Teddy. And Teddy told me the most important idea in advertising is new. Creates an itch. You simply put your product in there as a kind of calamine lotion. But he also talked about a deeper bond with the product. Nostalgia. It's delicate, but potent. Sweetheart. Teddy told me that in Greek, nostalgia literally means the pain from an old wound. It's a twinge in your heart, far more powerful than memory alone. This device isn't a spaceship. It's a time machine. It goes backwards and forwards. It takes us to a place where we ache to go again. It's not called the wheel. It's called the carousel. It lets us travel the way a child travels. Round and around, and back home again. To a place where we know we are loved.
Good luck at your next meeting.
Now, as you can see from the video, the power of visual emotional stories in your pitch to the audience in front of you. So it is not enough to just factually tell your audience about the product, but to be able to sell it in a way that is impactful, that draws on their emotions, and that draws them into the very idea of how good this product is. When you share a visual emotional story, it's not something new. It's been around since men lived in caves. Now, what can you do with this idea? Now, all of us have gone through life, and I'm sure from your 15, 20 or 50 years in your work, there are a lot of stories that you can sort of pull out from your past. Perhaps a difficult moment, a defining moment, a traumatic time, which totally call upon yourself to dig deep, to respond to that difficulty. And guess what? In such difficult situations that we encounter and go through, there's some part of us that defined us. There could be something called maybe determination, that you realize, look, it was difficult, I never knew I could do it, but through your perseverance, you finally did it. Now, in that little endeavor, that achievement, that little success, there's a story there. So don't be afraid to draw stories from our lives, from people you hear at the bar. Sometimes you can borrow from stories that you thought were useful, very impactful, and you can weave them into your presentation as well. Part 3, delivering the pitch. Start with a powerful hook. Now, a hook is something that enthralls or excites your audience and they stop for a moment to listen to you. What can be a powerful hook? It can be a visual, emotional story like what I shared with you. It could be a light-hearted joke. Jokes are sometimes good. A simple joke, a little banter before the actual meeting, breaks the ice. People start to sort of become themselves and a bit more light-hearted. If you're not a natural joke teller, then perhaps don't take the risk. Before your presentation, just say something contemporary. Now, what is something contemporary? Perhaps maybe in that particular context of that meeting room, everybody is always very bothered about the cold aircon that sometimes makes it hard for you to focus. Maybe say something about it. Well, guys, today the room might be extra cold, but guess what? We're going to have ideas that's going to heat us up because I have exciting ideas to share with you. Now, that is something contemporary. All right? The safest bet, if you are not a natural storyteller, you're not a joke teller, probably is simply to do a preview of what you're covering. Before you present, I think we need to do some analysis, do a bit of homework to sort of analyze when I present to this group of people in front of me, from the chairperson to the various members, what would be relevant to speak to them about. Now, the next 2 points about what I'm going to call interested members and disinterested members. Let me explain it a little. Now, interested members are people who are going to be impacted directly by a proposal. So like, for example, you're going to propose a budget cut. This person who's going to feel, their money being taken away, do you think they're going to sit there quietly? You bet during the meeting they're going to come to explain to you and counter-argue with the point about taking away their budget. Disinterested members are people who actually will not be affected at all by a proposal. They are none worse off, neither are they better off. So in a way, such members, sometimes they are indifferent, but not every time, because I've come in situation experiences where you get a disinterested member in a meeting, they ask the toughest questions. The KISS principle. KISS stands for keep it short and sweet. The KISS principle is important because we don't want to deliver a brief that is so protracted, people find it hard to concentrate, a lot of people get fidgety, and worse still, you lose your message in a long explanation. I want to use an analogy here. Sometimes management don't need the whole oyster to be presented to them. They just need the pearls of your wisdom. Now, I'm sure you heard of this story called the elevator speech. It comes in many forms. Now, what is the moral of this story? It is to tell you that sometimes if your boss has 1 minute to listen to you, you better be able to learn the skill of presenting to you in 1 minute. Now, structure your content. Now, I have a few ideas here on the slide. You don't have to follow this. I'm just trying to tell you the importance of structure. And there are a few simple ones. You can use PREP, my position that I have when I present to them, my reasons for it. I have examples to justify why I think this strategy is important, and you restate your position again. You could take a sweep using a chronological argument, talking about the past, what we didn't do too well, and the present, maybe while we have improved, you felt we could do better in the future, and then move to the future in the areas that while we are good, we want to get better at it. The final one, problem, cause, solution. When you present, you might want to, first of all, state what the problem is, tell them the possible causes that are creating this particular problem that you see. And finally, you can present to them the solution to the current problems that you have articulated. Okay, next area, delivery. In delivery, there are 3 things we need to watch out for: voicing, pitch, pace, pauses, and how do we create platform presence. Voicing, just be yourself. Make sure you're audible, distinct, varied, agreeable, and natural. If you look at some of the best speakers in every field of human interest, you realize they have this particular thing, what we call authentic presence. You want to listen to them. Just be natural. The idea is to be loud, the idea is to be clear, and make sure the people that we speak to don't lose our message. Okay, pitch, pace, pauses. Now, unless you got a voice defect or you're sick, where you can't talk properly, Most of us should talk with a very authoritative voice. We need to learn to throw our voice out there where people hear you and your voice resonates through the room without being too loud, obviously. But be natural, be comfortable. Pacing. How fast or how slow should you speak? Well, from the science of analysis here, somewhere between 120 to 160 words will be something intelligible. Okay? Now, when you speak too slow, you might appear pompous. People might lose interest in you because they find it very painful to follow you because you're just too slow. Too fast, you may have problems too. People can't follow you. Your audience cannot follow you. And when they can't follow you, they might lose track of your arguments, your line of reasoning, or key points that you make. When should you pause? Well, you should pause at the beginning of a presentation. You wait for everybody to sit down, be ready, and then when they see you standing there ready, you are actually the cue to start. Pausing between each point that you have is also effective because it's like punctuating your speech. That pause there tells them, I've finished what I've just said, I'm now moving on to my next point. All right? And finally, you pause before an important point, perhaps the key point of your whole presentation. And you could, in fact, add something like, so ladies and gentlemen, the most important slide today that I'm going to show to you now that explain to us why we think this is the best solution. That little pause there before you press the next slide. This creates an aura expectation, a little excitement before you show them the key slide for the evening or for the day. Platform presence. Now, how do you present yourself where everybody finds you captivating? Be there, be confident, make yourself big. Speak with a voice that's convincing. Speak with a voice that shows them your conviction about what you're presenting. That's how you establish a connection with people where they start to want to pay attention to you. Taking questions. Now, don't be in a hurry to present and get it over with because that's not the intention of an effective presentation. Now, when you take questions, practice active listening. Now, active listening, I will teach you the full skill of it in a separate video, but the short form here is this. Active listening actually is when someone repeats some things to you, you hear it, thank them for it, we paraphrase back to them what we just heard, and then allow them to verify whether is that exactly what they just said. When you reply, try to reply succinctly. Remember the analogy I used? They don't need the whole oyster, they just need the pearls. Thirdly, don't fabricate answers. Now, when you don't know the answer to something, I think honesty is the best policy. Just own up there and then. Don't be afraid to do it. And just tell them, sir, we don't have the answer right now to a very good question that you posed to us, but we'll come back to you with it. Alright, that's it for today. Thank you very much. If you like what I've shared, I hope you can consider liking my videos. Please subscribe to my channel so that I can continue developing such content for you.